Hello and welcome to this video on the eye shader. Now I've been working extensively on this shader and made a lot of little changes and cleaning up the network of the shader. The shader was created using Amplify Shader Editor and totally recommend it. If you want to change anything, then it's easy enough to open up these shader graphs and check them out. Let's just go ahead and make a duplicate of one of these eyes and call it demo, and I'm going to show you basically how to make your own customizations to this. So there's two LODs, so I'm just going to choose one of them to get the material, and if I select the material, so I can go here and select shader or select the material, other ways to get into the project, and let me just make a copy of brown eye and I'll call this demo, Z demo. Okay, and choose these two and put them there. Okay, so that's now the two LODs. I've got the new eye. So that's basically you want to work this way, basing off one of the examples, and from here you can change the eyeball color to anything you want. The alpha controls the glossiness, so it's kind of all in one. You've got the iris base color, so there's a kind of base to the eye. The alpha does nothing unless I've written dash something brackets A. The alpha won't do anything, so it's just for some things. So we've got some extra color here for the iris and the amount of that. That's also driven through this texture, so you can change this texture to whatever you want. There's a few examples here, and you can change it to some shapes. You can add your logo in. There's the Amplify Shader logo. You can see it kind of distorts at the edge. There's control of that. For example, I've got this limbal edge distort here, and I've got the push parallax, so you can see I can eventually sort of fix the edge there. That's just for the lens effect. Okay, so back up here, I'm just going to change this back to the iris mask realistic. Okay, so you get your second color, and then you've got this vein color. So I can change this to like a dark red, and this is the amount. So in some cases the alpha will control the gloss, in other cases it will control the amount. So you just want to get this to a point where you're happy. I guess this could be like another zombie eye. You've got the ring color, so you can change the color of the eye ring and also the strength through the alpha slider. So in some cases the alpha is the strength, in some cases it's the gloss. It's usually one of those. Let's go for a kind of bluish tone. Now this is all driven through an RGB texture, this one here. So you click this and you open this up, you'll see that it's actually driving the, what do you call it, the sclera, the veins of the eye, through the green channel. Now I've just made this one up, I just drew all this by hand, but you could really kind of study some photos and do your own one, or if you've already got something, bring it in and put it into the green channel. The limbal ring is red, and this blue area kind of protects the whole kind of iris and pupil. So that's basically what that does, and you can change that up for anything else. So for example, let's go back to the material, i3 demo, and let's just choose this one. You can see it's doing its thing there, and there's a kind of older one here. There's a preview one for another pack. You can put anything in here to see what craziness happens. You might get some nice effects, but let's just bring that back to what it was. Yep, that one. Okay, so that's the veins, the ring, and all this stuff there. Most of this is driven through this mask and this iris extra detail. These two, the scleronormal, that matches up with this, the green channel here, and this lens base normal basically drives the lens. So it's just an extra normal map that gets blended together inside the shader. So you can push that with this lens push, and also you can sort of make it more glossy here. You get control of the limbal edge amount just to sort of help fine tune that blend. You've got sclera bump, so just now it's getting kind of moved around with this scattering down the bottom here, so you can bring that right down. There's also a kind of minimal glow amount for the eye, just to have it sort of glow a little bit in case it's too dark. You've got this micro scatter and the scattering scale, and that just kind of manipulates things a bit. If you want to bring that right down, you've got everything else kind of working in here. Let's see, you got sclera bump scale, so you can have that quite low if you want. That just matches up with the veins and stuff. You can see how it's kind of making the veins stick out a bit. It'd be quite nice. The eye size, for changing the eye size, so down the way actually brings it larger, and up the way makes it smaller, so a bit counterintuitive, but just move it around and you'll get what you want. Iris size, in case you want to make that bigger as well. You've got iris rotation, so if you've got some cool shape like this one or this one, you can do some like robotic looking eyes. You can also change the pupil color and the strength of the emissive. So if it's in a dark scene, like if I make this light like quite dark, this emissive eye should be more emissive than this, but you can see it's brighter than the rest, right? So it's getting a little bit of that. I might find a way to force that through a bit further before I release this one. So I'll bring the light back round. In fact, I'll just bring the light lighter again. Okay, so you can see it's got quite a lot of emissive with the light there. Let's make sure that's in front. Okay, so back to this. Change the pupil color, and you've got the lens gloss, lens push. You've also got some metalness control in case you want to just make some things metallic, like the eyeball and things. But all it will do is just inherit some of the colors. Alright, caustic power for when the light hits this part, it kind of makes it brighter. And caustic effects in darkness is when the light's maybe not facing the direction of the eye, then you can still force some of that effect through. So caustic effects, and in darkness it gets an extra boost. Now the caustic effects is faked. All it does is it moves round. It's a little kind of grayscale image that gets moved round based on the direction of the light. So it takes its Y rotation and then just rotates this little texture and adds it in. Kind of multiplies the color a few times and then adds itself in. So it's just a little trick. You can see it's kind of corresponding to the light. And you've also got the auto-dilation here that you're seeing. So when the light's like behind, it's increasing and decreasing the pupil size. So you've got control of that as well. That's the pupil auto-dilate factor, and also like the amount. It's like this gets multiplied together for an extra sort of movement. You've got your pupil size, so the base size. You might find if this is too high and these are too kind of high, you'll get all sorts of weird stuff happening. It's still, doing all the parallax things, but you see it gets quite big in darkness. So as the light goes round behind it, it gets really big. So you have to fine tune these controls together just to get the right size and all that stuff. You can change the pupil width and height as well just by this little gizmo here. You can change the size and all these things, but I prefer to keep it 1. 1's just the default. You've got the sharpness in case you want it to be really crisp, clean at the edge. Let's just change this back to, let's go back to a normal looking eye for now. Let's turn the rotation back to 0. Got our base color and our iris color. Let's go for a nice typical sort of brown eye. Let's turn down the caustics. Let's change this back to black. And the eyeball color a bit more back to normal. And the eye vein color. Okay, and maybe that's just a little bit too red. Okay, and the light, I think, needs to be a bit brighter. You see when you brighten the light, the pupil changes size as well. So it's not only the direction of the light getting into the eye, it's also the intensity. Right, back to that. Let me just change this a bit more reddish again. Depending on the style of your character, you can change all these things and bring in your own textures. Right, so you've got the auto-dilate, pupil control, caustic effects, metalness, I've shown you that. Parallax is just how it sort of bends the pupil back based on this little image here. It's a little protection image just to keep it aligned, assigned to the iris area. So that all corresponds to, these correspond in size to the mask sort of blue area, so you have to make sure they match up, as well as this lens based normal. You can use the ones I've got, there's no harm in using them, but in case you want to manipulate them, you know how they'll work. You've got eye shading power, so if your eye is actually in the socket of a character, you can bring the shading power down and it creates a little kind of shadow around it. Just an extra thing. I've actually got a double label there, maybe just change that. Eye shading power, oh that's in twice. Oh, how strange. Okay, it's unusual to see that. Okay, so got some minimum glow, so if you want your eye to glow a bit. Micro scatter, scale, so small scale kind of moves, just kind of wiggles things about a bit, makes it look more kind of like organic. And the amount here kind of scatters the light about as well, it looks quite nice. And you can change your gloss value up here. That's too much. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm just going to fix up a couple of things here, and this is pretty much the final version. And any questions, just feel free to email me or post a reply in the YouTube channel. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.